And finally, but not quite finally actually, it will be easier if you start writing. People do get into a sort of funk about writing and just never can get there because they're thinking about it the whole time. But start writing, and start writing it section by section. I hope if I've done nothing else this morning, I've demonstrated that a business plan is not just sections in isolation, that there is a story to be told. And therefore, writing bits of it may help you to get the whole flow together. And writing a bullet point view of the whole business plan before you fill it out with your glowing prose may help. And getting others to review what you've done, somebody independent who you can find, whether it's a friend or somebody independent who has an interest in what you're doing, then that will help enormously. And getting feedback and having iterations of the business plan rather than just trying to write the whole thing and then work out what it looks like. And finally, the executive summary. Nobody's ever been able to tell me why it's called an executive summary, except that executives are far too busy to read anything else. But it is a summary. And the mistake that people make, I think, is that they write it first. And I think that's a very dangerous habit to get into. It's a bit like writing the index of a book before you've written the book. I'm not quite sure how you can do it, because I don't see how you can summarize what it is until you've seen what it is. And the reason why people get confused is that it appears first. It's the first section, by and large, of a business plan. So just because it's the first section doesn't mean that you don't write it last. And I think it's very important that it is short. It should be not more than, ideally not more than 1 page, certainly not more than 2 pages, because if you can't explain in 2 pages what your business proposition is, then you probably haven't got it clear enough in your own mind. And more importantly than that, it's completely different from the business plan. And it's written in a different way. And I see so many plans with the benefits of Microsoft Word which are just cut and pasted from the plan itself into the summary. And it's not good enough. It needs to be written in a very different language. And it's amazing to me how many entrepreneurs I meet who are passionate people, really excited about what they're doing, manage to write an executive summary which is as dull as ditch water. And I don't understand why it happens, but it does happen because you get too close to it. So take off the blinkers, and when you're writing the summary, really go for it. Just let your passion rip and explain what is so exciting, what turns you on about this business, which means that people will actually go on to read the rest of the plan. Because if it isn't exciting and passionate in the summary, you can be absolutely sure that they won't read the rest of it. So these are the 10 questions which I think you want to be asking yourself. And if you've got the answers to these 10 things, which I hope we've covered in some detail, somebody might be wondering how long this plan really ought to be. The longest I've seen so far is 7 volumes. I didn't read it. But I reckon that if you want a rule of thumb, 20 pages should be adequate to write a business plan. If you're going over that, I think you've put too much in there. If you're going less than about 10, you probably haven't done yourself justice. Then we get into the discussion of what point size it should be. That's slightly sort of missing what I'm saying. I'm not pontificating on how long this plan should be. But there is no excuse any longer. There's no excuse for bad presentation. There are enough software products out there that you can make it exciting. You can put some colour into it, put some pictures into it, put some page numbers on it. All these things which are trivial but people so frequently forget. Give it an index with page numbers on it so that I can go to the page I want. Just 1 second. And it's a normal business plan which sort of looks like that in an A4 format with a binder on it. It is the format that people expect to see. And I'm all for changing that. I'm all for doing it in a completely different way. Some of the best business plans I've seen have been in a PowerPoint format with lots of colour in it. We actually, at Business Plan Services, when we do an internal business plan, sometimes do it in the form of a poster with the sections going round in a circle. And this is very powerful because instead of sticking it in your bottom drawer, you actually put it up in the main entrance of the business and people can see what you're trying to do. It's a very powerful way of doing it. Trouble is, if you're going to a bank manager, they have an expectation of what they're going to see. They have hundreds of these things to read. And if you surprise them, and if you produce it in a clever format, you are taking a risk, and it may be a risk which is, comes off, but if you want to be conservative about it, then it's very clear what the normal format is. Sorry, sir.
Your 20 pages, does it include appendices and financials?
I would say not. I would say that it's a good point. Appendices can be sort of as long as you like, because people don't have to read appendices. So all the technical stuff I would put into an appendix. The financial model, generally the expectation would be that it would be 3 years forward of profit and loss, cash flow and balance sheet, and probably quarterly in the first year and monthly in years 2 and 3. That would be sort of rule of thumb. It's not essential, but that would be... did I say that right? I think I got that the wrong way around, didn't I? Monthly in the first year and quarterly in years 2 and 3. Yeah.